Welcome to the Cozy.convos.podcast. I am your host, Elijah. Oh my gosh, you guys, it is finally time for us to have a brand new episode over here. It's been months. Honey, y'all know the Empress had to take some time to rest, to recalibrate, to get some new ideas formulating in my mind. But now we are back, better than ever, might I add. And we have a juicy little topic for today that I'm excited to dissect. Oh girl, my ponytail is moving and doing stuff, girl, but y'all like it? It's cute. I got a new setup going and everything like that, so girl, I'm really excited. But okay, y'all know I don't like to waste any time. We're on episode 11, and the topic we are going to be discussing today is how creative people do a functioning society.
Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's dive into the unknown so we can continue growing. It won't always feel so comfortable letting go of limited beliefs, but we know we have big dreams and goals, so we're committed even when truth gets heavy. Let's have a conversation and make it cozy. Let's address the hard things and still make it feel so cozy. Let's embrace our flaws so we can feel even more cozy. This safe space won't make you feel anything other than cozy.
Now, you know, over here on the Cozy Convos podcast, we like to have conversations that really addresses a lot of society's contradictions and hypocrisies. Is that the word that I want to use, hypocrisies? And being that this is an issue that has also directly affected me being an artist myself, I've had to overcome the mental and emotional battle of constantly feeling isolated in a society that may view my path in a negative light. I think it's time that we recognize we need to create spaces for the people who are often made to feel like their pursuit to life is unrealistic. There is a large portion of society filled with people who have an unexplainable burning desire to chase something that isn't always physically tangible, especially to the materialistic world that we live in. But before we dive any further, I want to pose a question to the audience that is currently watching. Raise your hand if you love a good book, a good TV show, a good album. Raise your hand if you love a lovely piece of art that is being hung up in your home. I know I have a beautiful piece of artwork here. As you can see, I have my collection of books I love to read. Honey, the list could go on and on and on. Now, I want you to imagine you're having a stressful day, and you don't have your usual outlets to pour into. Whether it be a song that uplifts you, or a book or TV show that you can escape into. A piece of art that you can look at that really reflects how you're feeling emotionally. Think about all the people that had to create those things that you enjoy so much. Rarely is there a space free of judgment for those people who longs to create things for themselves and us. I can guarantee you that most of the artistic things that you love to indulge in, the people that created them when they first started, they were either downplayed or not taken as seriously, simply for wanting to contribute something to society that we all enjoy to some capacity. Girl, always being told to have a backup plan or get a real job. There is a peculiar beauty in taking a step back and really examining society's contradictions. We make all types of artists feel minuscule when they are at the beginning of their career, or simply because they express a deep interest in pursuing that path. But if it weren't for those kinds of people, us, being bold and brave enough to keep going even when no one believes, you wouldn't have your favorite song, you wouldn't have your favorite piece of artwork hung up in your home that really livens the place up and fills it with joy and happiness and color. Or you wouldn't have that TV show that you love to binge watch every day after work. These are the singers, the actors, the artists that speak a universal language. Sorry girl, y'all know I'm in New York, honey. The cops and the ambulances is always flying by making noise. Now let's get to the root. Let's talk about where it all normally starts. This backlash that artistic people and creative people often face growing up. About my experience growing up as a creative kid in school, here on my podcast and on my other channel as well. And when it comes to my artistic pursuits, my music, creating content, or doing anything that is outside of the norm, anything that's creative, honestly, I have memories of always being discouraged anytime I expressed interest in those things. I remember, girl, I wrote songs and sung in church as early as elementary school. Honey, I felt that connection deeply early on. And with me taking this spiritual journey, moving to New York, I had no choice but to reflect and ask myself, why did it take so long for me to finally admit that this is where my heart is, no matter how much I tried to run from it? And then it all of a sudden clicked after multiple examinations. There was never a consistent space for my dreams to flourish or be accepted. The people around me were conditioned themselves to settle for mediocrity, so anything above that or outside of that was unrealistic or uncomfortable in their worldview. In other words, the fear of failure is part of what I feel drove my environment to put down their dreams, because they didn't feel that they deserved it or could accomplish it. And when I'm speaking on generational cycles and curses, these are often the types of things that I'm speaking about. A lot of that fear that you carry when it comes to pursuing your passion, it isn't really your fear. It's something that's been passed down and beaten into you until you've gotten the point. I saw something the other day on TikTok, I think. It says something about the human mind that really grabbed my attention, if you will. Oftentimes when we try to venture out and do something and we're pushed back, we receive a lot of pushback for it. The human mind or something within us conditions ourselves to stay in this safe, comfortable space so that we don't have to experience the friction of going outside of this certain box. And I realize until you look within and you address it, you're going to pass down that fear, or you're going to try to stop someone else because their light and ascension highlights your own inadequacy in terms of being courageous enough to not settle and reach for more. And through all of this, I realized that I had to start creating a space for myself if nobody else was going to do it for me. As kids, we are our most authentic selves. And I believe we come here to do something specific. I don't think anybody is here by mistake. I don't think anybody is here by accident. I believe we are each here to contribute something specific to the collective ecosystem of society. But as we grow up, we get taught and fed deceptive things, intentionally placed so that we become one functioning robotic system. We're conditioned to measure our success against jobs, promotions, titles, and material possessions. Our whole purpose becomes rooted in climbing up the ladder and doing whatever it takes to get there. And we become blinded by this tunnel vision, which isn't always good, honey. And I feel like this is what causes us to really miss out on life once-in-a-lifetime opportunities. And it's because our brain 24/7 is occupied with how to become rich or famous. And there's nothing wrong with wanting the finer things in life. I just honestly think it's your approach and how you get there. And when they say that money is the root of all of the evil in the world, honey, I strongly resonate with that statement because I've seen what it has done to people. And somehow we're conditioned that there's not enough to go around for everyone. We think that someone else's success means our failure. Well, let me not say our, girl, because I don't think that way, but I'm just, I'm talking as a collective, something that I've had to overcome and work through, so that we can just feel more communal, if you will. But yeah, girl, there's all this competition and people trying to one up the next person, or put people down because they are the mirror that is reflecting back to us, those shadows that we need to face and work through. And this is a deep systemic issue that I do feel needs to be addressed more widely. If space isn't given for these things to be brought to light, without people instantly getting uncomfortable by the truth or something that makes them address something they've been running from, then as a society, baby, we are as good as doomed. If we have more spaces that were judgment-free and embrace individuals who may want to pursue a different pursuit in life, just those people who don't always seek the same things that we're told everybody should seek or everybody should want. I think if we embrace those people or just leave them alone to do their own thing, the world will be in a lot less conflict. And that goes to highlight one of my biggest pet peeves in today's society and in today's culture that I often see, whether it be on social media or in my everyday life. You don't always need to comment. Actually, let me not say always. You don't ever need to comment on what someone else is doing just because it doesn't fit into your idea of what everybody should be doing in this world. It is not difficult to tune out the things that you don't agree with so that you can focus on the things that you do. If we want to continue to enjoy art, then we need to support the upcoming artists and the artists that are already established. Not so much physically. Sometimes it's as simple as not putting them down just because you can't wrap your mind around their vision and what they're doing. And I'm not gonna lie, you guys, when I reflect on my childhood, when I reflect on me being a creative kid in a very boxed-in, conditioned society and environment, it does make me emotional because I think about how much more developed my gifts could have been if they had been cherished and nourished. If my ambitions were supported instead of put down to make the next person feel justified about the path they've chosen that they may not be pleased with. And let me make this clear, everyone is not for everyone. I'm not for everyone. Everybody that comes across my music or my podcast may not resonate with the messages, may not resonate with the music, and that is okay. I will never understand that demographic of people who spend so much energy and effort talking about something or someone they supposedly can't stand. Leave people alone that are simply creating and minding their business. If that is not your genre of art, music, television, etc., go find something that is, instead of criticizing the people that are trying to find community through what they are creating, because clearly, honey, you aren't their target audience. Now, once again, I would like to highlight what the world would look like without the arts. Oh, and honey, especially with the warmer months approaching, honey. How boring and bland would the block parties be, would the cookouts be without our 90s classics? What if we lived in a world where there were no concerts, where we couldn't come together over a shared interest of somebody who speaks our language? Honey, singing our heart outs, connecting us together in one shared beautiful space. And think about also how bland would fashion be if there was nobody to create and innovate new styles and set new trends. And now I know pressure creates diamonds and all that good jazz, cause honey, I face a lot of pressure. So I know firsthand how all of that pressure can build you into something, can bring out your strength and your courage and, push you, bring out that fire. But oftentimes as artists, we do go through these stages where we feel like nobody believes in us. And we have to be our biggest cheerleaders in a world that is telling us to constantly stop. But what if we accommodated creatives? I feel like that would give room for the art to be 10 times better, because we're not solely focused on surviving a path that can often be rigid and confusing. Imagine how much more beautiful art could be if it wasn't so difficult for the artists to find support and community, or simply not live with the fear that they are going to be judged, or they are going to be criticized, they are going to be bullied for wanting to be unique, for wanting to be different, for wanting to start something that this world may not have ever seen before. Imagine how that would inspire other younger artists, or just other artists in general who currently feel weighed down by the pressures of this patriarchal and, girl, what is it called, capitalistic society. They may stop fighting for that urge to break free from the cage and just finally go for it. Honey, give creative people a chance. Not everything that everyone does is for your own personal understanding. Okay, honey? I'm trying to break it down. What somebody else is doing is not always for your own personal understanding in your life, okay? They are a separate individual, a separate entity, living a completely separate life that has absolutely nothing to do with yours. Someone else's life choices shouldn't affect you or bother you unless you are questioning your own. So here's a little quick message to my fellow artists. You're not as crazy and weird as people have made you feel your whole entire life. The only reason you may feel that way is because you've most likely found the thing within yourself that most people are still struggling to find or never find. When you do the thing that fulfills your soul first and not your pockets, it will create cognitive dissonance for the zombies that are still operating in the Matrix. And because there are so many people who feel obligated to project and give their unsolicited opinions, it can feel like the world is against you and that there is no support. But what I've learned on my journey of being an artist is that I don't need external validation anymore. The most important thing on this journey, especially if you're a creative, is going to be learning how to validate yourself. Honey, I listen to my music and I love it down. Honey, my deep voice, my harmonies, my melodies, my purifying melodic messages, the messages in my song that come from a deep, profound place of my life that is stemmed from hardships and triumphs. I encourage my fellow artists and creatives to do some intense and deep shadow work so that we can all work through the conditioning that has always made us believe that our dreams were stupid, irrelevant, and impossible to accomplish. Like I said earlier, when you dig deep and you really take time to reflect, you'll find that those thoughts and those fears were something that was planted and not initially yours, but they are projections of the people that you have always been around or have always known, whether that have been from school, from church, your old jobs, your current job. Honey, the old ways are dying. We are beginning to rise up because we realize we do not want to abandon our soul's calling to be slaves anymore. We don't want to be tricked into selling our soul for a system that gives us chump change and empty promises to do jobs that keeps this deceptive system operating at full capacity. To be an artist and a creative who is bold enough and brave enough to follow the call means to be brave, bold, and unapologetically yourself, no matter where you are. Honey, no more code switching or dimming it down to fit into the narrow lines created to manage humanity. Let's continue plucking off each layer of this crooked, unrealistic, outdated system one by one. When you take this journey, if you decide that you do want to finally pursue your passion, or whatever you feel that you are meant to do, whatever fulfills you the most in this world, we're all going to have to become committed to staying on the long road, or thinking more with the long road on long term in mind. Most people are caught up in temporary distractions, chasing short-term pleasure, honey, trying to get whatever quick little fix to satisfy us in this moment. And most people abandon the path of passion because of the relentless bullying and criticism that creates the isolation that all artists can end up experiencing. But please, y'all, think about it like this. This is what I've had to do. Honey, you have to get real, you have to get true, you have to just say, the thing that may hurt somebody's feelings, but it's what's happening. Please do not allow people who are living in fear, people who will be in the same place 10 years from now, doing the same thing, dictate the outcome of your future with their judgment and their criticism. If they are not going to create the support and the space that we need, then we have no choice but to come together and create it for each other. And that is what this podcast is all about for me. This is a space for my fellow outcasts, creatives, black sheep, those of us who have always felt bigger than the limitations that we once believed were permanent. So let's rise up and stop fearing our own potential, because we all know what the alternative is if we quit, honey. We'll be living a soulless, empty life that is filled with dread, always regretting and questioning why we never took the risk to just go for it. So honey, just bearing all of these things in mind, I want everybody that is currently watching this to really take some time to reflect on these words that I shared with you all today. Because I do think that if we have these hard conversations, if we do kind of get to the root of what is holding a lot of us back or keeping us stuck at these jobs, these environments that we know deep down do not serve us and will not serve us in the long run, I think we'll be able to have better clarity and better vision on how we want our life to be and start taking the necessary action to make our lives reflect what we know it could be. And if we continue to step outside of the brainwashing and decondition ourselves from the things we've always been taught, then we'll be able to see that the ceiling does not exist, honey. There is no peak. There is no limits to what the human mind and the human body and the human emotions and everything that makes us who we are can do. Well, that is going to wrap up, you guys, episode 11 of the Cozy Convos podcast. I hope you guys thoroughly enjoyed this episode because I thoroughly enjoyed sharing it with you all. Honey, we are back. We are better than ever. I have some exciting topics coming up in the next few episodes that I think you guys are going to thoroughly enjoy. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you don't miss every time we post a brand new episode over here. And also I have it linked down in the description box, my other channel, so that you guys can catch up on some of my music, my vlogs, and other things that we do. And with all that being said, I'm sending you guys so much love, light, and positive energy, and I will see you in the next episode. Kisses, hugs, and many, many blessings. Mwah.